Now, as an employer, you do have certain responsibilities that you've got to meet to your employees, and there's quite a few standards and awards that you need to be aware of. So today we're joined again by Don Tepper, the Chief Executive Officer of the Real Estate Employees Federation, and he's going to talk to us about those standards and awards that are specific to real estate. So thanks, Don.
Thank you, Emma.
Does an employer in real estate need to comply with any minimum terms and conditions of employment when they're engaging staff?
Yes, they do, Emma. Of course, the real estate industry is no different to any other industry where there is now a modern award in existence for all salespeople and property managers. And of course, for your admin staff, there's also an industrial award in place for them. More specifically for salespeople and property managers, the award is called the Real Estate Industry Award. And in that award, there are certain minimum terms and conditions laid out. Just on that award, I would like to just raise a couple of issues.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that, because I know that you get a lot of questions from members
about
the award,
I do.
And I know you've got a lot of experience in interpreting what it means in practice, I guess, for employers.
Yes. With that award, Schedule B outlines what's called the classification structure, and that advises the employer what type of classifications the award covers. There are 3 streams of classification in the award: salespeople, associates, and for salespeople and associates, the classification names are property sales associate, which is the PA or the assistant or the helper.
Yes, very common these days.
To a salesperson. Then there's the property sales representative, which is your salesperson, and then there's the property sales supervisor, which is commonly your sales manager.
Sales manager, yeah.
The other stream is property management, and again you have similar names, similar classifications. For example, property management associate, again that is your support person within the property management department, and you have your property management representative, which is your run-of-the-mill property manager, and then you have the property management supervisor. Again, that person would be in charge of the department. You then have strata or community title stream, which is very similar, of course, to property management. One of the important issues of this award is every salesperson who receives commission must have a written agreement in relation to that commission. This is very important. And in South Australia, excuse me, that agreement must be registered with my association and also with the Real Estate Salespersons Association.
I think that's a really good point, Don, because sometimes employers seem surprised about the fact that that needs to be registered, and that's been in place for some time now, hasn't it?
Oh, for at least 20 years, and the same procedure is in New South Wales and Queensland as well, where these agreements, these commission agreements must be registered. A salesperson's commission in real estate can be a complicated form of remuneration, and how that commission is calculated must be put in writing and held by a third party in case there's a dispute over it.
And that includes what's debitable and the commission rates and all those types of things.
All those sorts of things,
Yeah.
and also in particular what commission is payable to a salesperson if they resign. You know, what happens to those settlements after resignation? Are they entitled to their commission or not? And all those sorts of things are covered in the agreement.
Yeah, well, it's not something like the employee or the employer wants to be wondering, you know, when that time comes, do they?
That's right. Again, it gets back to this word clarity. You know, clarity for both the employer and the employee.
Now, the Clerk's Private Award, we're talking more about the receptionist, the admin team. Can you tell me a little more about that and perhaps how it's a little bit different?
Yes, the Clerk's Private Sector Award relates to the administration staff in a real estate office. So basically, all real estate offices will normally have 2 awards. That's the Real Estate Industry Award and the Clerk's Private Sector Award. The thing about this award to keep in mind, there are, again in the classification structure, again in Schedule B, there are 5 levels of clerks, and of course the most difficulty an employer has, which level does this clerk come under?
Yeah.
Normally in a real estate office it's level 2, but sometimes it can be level 3 or even level 4. So you have to go to Schedule B and read the definitions for each level. A lot of employers fall into the trap of putting their admin staff into a clerical level according to their salary and not according to their duties. They think, the higher the salary, the higher the level they've got to go under, which is not correct.
Okay.
For example, just to give a quick example, it's not unusual for an admin staff to be on $45,000, which is far in excess of the minimum award wage, but they still may be only a level 2.
Okay.
Level 5 being the highest level.
Yeah, so it's really important to nut down into what the duties are and focus on that when the classifications
that's correct.
are applied.
Yeah. The only other thing I would point out in the Clerks Private Sector Award is part-time clerks.
Yes.
It's important that they have fixed start times and finish times and fixed days of the week. That is a requirement by the award. Days of the week can be changed by the employer with notice. Start times and finish times can only be changed with the employee's agreement. Otherwise, if you work outside those fixed times and you haven't got the employee's agreement, you have to pay overtime rates.
So I think it really highlights too the importance of the employer recognising the validity of that award and how it can affect their workplace, and sort of staying abreast with those changes, on a regular basis as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, national employment standards, how many of them are there?
There's 10 national employment standards, and they are all listed in what's called the Fair Work Act, and normally in the national employment standards you can print it out as a discrete document rather than print the whole act out. There's 10 of them, and they cover matters like annual leave, sick leave, personal carers leave, flexible working hours. Like an employee may be away on maternity leave and she may only want to come back part-time, whereas before she was full-time. So there's a certain procedure under the National Employment Standards for the employee and the employer to follow if she wants to reduce her hours to part-time. There's community leave, like for example, if someone's a member of the CFS, they go away and fight a flood or a fire or whatever, they're entitled to that leave. And the reason that one came in is because an employee once upon a time went off to fight a bushfire and the employer sacked him, which was totally unfair. And so that's been rectified now by legislation.
So I suppose it's about a fair go all round, really.
It's fair go all round, yes. Another important minimum national standard is notice of termination of employment and redundancy pay. Because if the employer instigates a termination of employment, they must give a certain amount of notice or payment in lieu. And of course the redundancy pay, if you make a position redundant, it outlines how many weeks' pay that employee is entitled to. Just one point with your national employment standards. As an employer, if you are ever reading a national employment standard, please ensure you also read the applicable award on that same subject, because the award may contain a supplementary issue on the standard. For an example, the National Employment Standards tells the employer how much notice they have to give an employee if they terminate their employment. But it doesn't say how much notice an employee has to give if they resign. You must go to the award to find that out.
Excellent. And do you recommend having a copy of that in your office so it's sort of known by all staff?
Look, I don't have to actually recommend it because it's actually law.
Oh, okay, that makes it easy then.
The employer must have a copy of any applicable award and the National Employment Standards in the office, and the employees must know where it is so that they can access it at any time. Now, this can be done either in hard copy or soft copy. The employer can email each employee a copy of the award and the National Employment Standards, or have hard copies in the office.
Great. Well, I think you've simplified some of the awards and standards for us. It doesn't sound very sexy when we start, but I really appreciate your frankness and openness in sharing some of your advice today, Don. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma.